Hi, everybody. This week I am here with Tom Smith, who is one of our our guests of numerous concerts in the Seattle area. He goes to a lot of shows. I find that incredibly supportive for all of the local acts and a lot of the music that comes through here. Um, my friend Steve Bergstrom from the band Finger Guns recommended that I talk to him. And I met him at Daryl's Tavern with the Finger Guns show, as well as Eve Clark's band, um, Trip the Wire, which that was my first time seeing them. And I think they're fantastic. Uh, Tom, were you there to see? Who were you there to see?
I was there to see Trip the Wire and Finger Guns. There was one
Okay.
other band that's escaping me right now that was at that show. Daryl's is really close to me and very. It's a nice, uh, small but good sounding bar.
It is. It is. In fact, I'm just about 2 miles south. I'm in
Okay.
I'm down in Broadview, so I'm not too far from you.
Okay.
Um, have you how many times have you seen Trip the Wire, or have you seen any of Eve's other bands? I know she's been in a few.
Yes, I've been following Eve and her bands for quite some time. I started with Rev 3, I think was the first of her bands, and then she had another band briefly. But she's an outstanding vocalist, of course. The band Trip when I got to see Trip the Wire, their very first show at Tony V's,
Okay.
and I proudly bought a T-shirt that said I was there on the back.
Yeah,
That they
you were
were
wearing it
there.
that night. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Um, she assembled what was an incredible array of really talented musicians in the other gentlemen in Trip the Wire. They just blew me away on the big stage there at Tony V's. They were just
Yeah.
massive and powerful. They were really good. So I do try to catch them every chance I get.
That's fantastic. I knew she'd been in several bands. We'd been Facebook friends for years. Um, and I had seen a couple of her previous bands, um, but this was I didn't realize that they were playing the night that I
Mhm.
went to see my friend Steve,
Okay.
and I was blown away. They were fantastic. They have the style that they play kind of it lends itself to like 80s Judas Priest and kind of that 80s hard rock, which I am a huge fan of.
Absolutely. And they deliver it with just incredible professionalism, a wall of sound,
Yeah,
power,
yeah,
power metal is what they
that's
do. And all the guys in the band are just really great people too. And that's been part of my thing that I've had so much fun going to all these shows is the band members. I let them know that they've done how much I enjoyed their music um, and we've become friends. I've been very fortunate to. I'm in my 10th year of doing this now. I started in January of 2013. I guess maybe it's 11th year, but the it's the I kiddingly tell people, you go to our local live shows, you can talk to the band. You can go to them and talk to them and say hi, and they'll talk to you.
yeah,
It's like a little fun thing that I do, but it's true. To be able to speak to the bands before the show, between the sets, after their set. Um, I remember one time I was at the Blue Moon Tavern in the U District,
yep,
and I was there a little early, but the band I was going to see, who I don't actually remember, they were sitting there. There were four members, and table up toward the front, and they said, "Hey, Tom, grab a chair." And I said to myself, I'm sitting with the band. I enjoy these little things about our music scene, and I know you want to ask me how I got into this. I've always loved music, and it wasn't until January 2013 I went to three shows. The very first weekend of January um, 2013.
Okay.
3 shows that weekend, and I didn't stop going to 3 shows a week for 6 years. I went to 936 shows in those first 6 years. And I was just having the time of my life. I was, I don't want to, you can call it addicted or whatever. I call it, it's a gift to love music as much as I do. It just courses through my body, and it's life to me to stand at the base of the stage and be right there that close to musicians who are making this music right in front of me.
And especially when it's a good band with a lot of power and you feel like the bass, it's like literally hitting you in the chest, and the air that the speakers are moving and it's moving the hair on your arm. There's nothing that can touch that experience for me.
Well, obviously you get it for sure, as do many people. I had a musician ask me, Tom, how are you not deaf? The point, listening to this much, and it is loud. I don't. I would tell my family and friends who might not have gone yet. It's loud,
mm-hmm.
but it's not. It might be loud for more people than me, but bring earplugs then. But
sure,
I like it loud. And anyway, to this musician that asked me about how am I not deaf? I said, well, what I do is I stand right at the edge of the stage as close as possible. So instead of being battered by the big house speakers, that are up to my left and right, I'm listening to the musicians' equipment. I'm listening to, and it's coming right straight to me. And so and I can handle that. That's okay. I told another musician, I said, when you are playing your guitar or vocals for that matter, your instruments it's going from your instrument to your head amplifier to your cab, the speakers, to me. I mean, it's like boom, 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 boom. I'm getting it right. I'm one of the first people to hear it. Not that we don't all hear it at this pretty much the same time, but that's how I've had my hearing tested. The doctor said, "What are you doing here? What'd you come in here for?" I said, "Well, I just wanted to be sure. I go to a lot of shows and stuff." And this particular doctor said, "Well, your hearing's just fine." So anyway, but yeah, I'm just having the time of my life, and it's wonderful to go to shows. I just wish more people could realize what a hotbed of music the Pacific Northwest is, from Bellingham to Portland and further points south and east a little bit. We are just resplendent with this incredible amount of really, really good bands.
Yeah.
And I look at it as perhaps, the people when they were younger and they were listening to, Judas Priest or the Scorpions, who I'm a huge fan of,
all right,
or whatever, and maybe they were younger, or maybe they listened to Pearl Jam, even the younger gentlemen and ladies. Maybe they were listening to Pearl Jam and Soundgarden and whatever, the whole grunge thing. Well, they picked up an instrument. Well, now these people are playing right in front of us in venues all over Seattle, Tacoma, Bellingham, Portland. And they are just killing it. They are really, really good.
One of the things that I really love about the musical community of Seattle is everyone, they don't see it as a competition for each other. There's plenty of places to play. There's a lot of bands. There's a camaraderie, and there's a sense of kind of, I don't want to say brotherhood because there's so many female musicians as well. There's a sense of family about the musicians. I've been to several shows where it's not the whole band on stage, and it's a drummer from a different band, or it's the bass player from the opening band that is filling in. and there's no ego check for it. There's no sense of one-upsmanship. It's just, I have a chance to play. I love these guys. Happy to do it. Um, and the same when you see a band and there's 3 bands on the bill, and they say, "Oh, well, just go ahead and use my drum kit or use my bass rig because it'll save time setting up for the next band. Just go ahead and use my kit." I've seen that more times than I can count, and the sense of um, the sense of love in the musical community here is one of the things that really endeared me to a lot of the musicians.
You're so right. And, it's the another thing that I've told people is, going to these shows, we're going to see 3 or 4 40-minute sets or so, but it's before the show, talking to people, the band members. And I just love just kind of sitting back and watching the band members relate with each other. They're friends. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe they helped get each other on that bill for that show, and they've played before. They're really good friends, and it's a social experiment, I'll call it, for lack of a better word, where um, people are just having a really good time.
Yeah.
And before I forget, I want to, I would be remiss in not talking about the fans.
Yeah.
We have some of the most loyal, diehard show attending people. I wish there was more of us, but we have some of the greatest people out there, and I could mention a few, but I would miss uh, 20 if I
Yeah. Of
mentioned a
course.
few, but I might. Anyway, it's they see each other. There's hugs, and it's especially after coming out of COVID, we slowly but surely, I'm still seeing people that I hadn't seen for a long, long, long time. And Steve Bergstrom was one of those people. Love the Finger Guns, great guys. Steve's awesome. And meant a lot to me what he said at that show, that, calling me out. I've been very fortunate to get called out from the stage by bands who I've seen, quite a few times. I've been very fortunate. I consider it an honor and a privilege to get to see these bands and be out in our local music scene. I've been fortunate enough to see quite a few bands, easily double digits. And there's a band, Deadbeat Blackout, who's a drum head that they gave me, and they called me their first fan. I saw Deadbeat Blackout at Tim's Tavern.
Okay.
They were with a band called another band that I know, it's his name's escaping me at the moment, but um, Blackstone Days.
Okay.
Man named Jim McClung, an unmistakable guitar style like no other. We have a ridiculous array of really, really good guitar players.
Yes, we do.
Then we have another,
Yeah.
10 to 20 who are just impresarios. They're just iconic. They're just timeless, and they're just brilliant. I mean, they're really good. And Jim McClung is one of those. I was seeing Blackstone Days, and Deadbeat Blackout was on this bill. I was so impressed by that band, Hakati Williams, Mike Ureb, Craig Fredrickson, Chris Johnson, that I saw 10 of their first 11 shows. I just went to I found them. They invited me. They said they made me a member of the band. That was one of my that's over the last 5 years. There's a picture that they put up where I was the only person at the base of the stage, and my arms were out like this, and in the band, I was the only person there. But I loved that band. I just couldn't wait for other people to see and discover this band. They were so good, and they're still great.
That's fantastic.
So there's them, and I'm currently, this is Lark versus Owl. The shirt I chose to wear tonight is a 3-piece band called Lark versus Owl.
Okay.
And these guys put on an incredible live performance. Matt Payne stands up with his guitar set, and he's tremendous killer vocals. The whole band, they're really good. Um, Another band that I'm really, really high on right now is The Wrecked. Um, Rich Ryan, Eric Spicer. Sure enough, I'm going to forget everybody's name. Justin Day.
Okay.
They are. I love good old hardcore old school punk. I
Yeah.
I just love.
Yeah.
I love but I'm seeing in our punk great bands like Dead Streets or Well Adjusted, a young band called Zest. They're really good. And the Disorderlies, one of the fastest punk bands I've seen in our area. Those are just a few. There's many, many more, that some of which I haven't seen yet, but I will soon, I hope. Um, I call it Seattle punk. It's like
Yeah.
2020, or it's the 21st century Seattle punk.
Yeah.
We have a great sound, just like old school punk, the Circle Jerks, Black Flag, some of which I was really fortunate to get to see. From 77 to 84, I went to a lot of shows during that time period. But it's got the old school flavor and sound, but it's just a little bit, I'm going to say better. It's just enhanced, if you will,
Yeah.
on turbocharged or whatever. It's just clean, tight, and it's just really good. And those are just some of our great punk bands that we have that I'm following as much as I can.
I would even put up the first Soundgarden album as a punk record.
Uh-huh.
I think Louder Than Love probably stands up as a punk record.
Mm-hmm.
It just has that raw speed to it. But Chris Cornell is also an amazing singer.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of elevates it past what punk usually is. It's not just aggression and rhythm and speed. There was a lot to it, but they had definitely had that punk aesthetic, I think. Uh,
Right.
and
Yes, the band's taking, putting their own take on something, working, they're maybe inspiration, if you will, but then their own talent comes into play.
yeah. So how far do you usually travel for shows now? Are you more looking at like the venues close to you to see what bands are playing, or are you like traveling down to Tacoma and you're going up to Everett to see specific bands, or probably both?
Here from Edmonds, Everett is just a 15-mile. It's a shorter jaunt through less traffic.
Yeah.
And there's some great venues up there. Tony V's Garage is epic. It's one of the best up there. The
Mm-hmm.
Black Lab Gallery is good. There's other places. I've been up to Arlington to the Mirkwood.
Okay.
Over the past 10 years, I've driven to Bellingham. I went up to see Woodshed, who played on Wingfest, and they have their own um, uh, festival every year at the Slime Dog Speedway in the Stanwood area.
Okay.
That's gotten bigger and bigger every year.
That's cool.
Saw Woodshed, went up there to Bellingham several times to see them compete in a competition, which they won. They've been a real staple. There was a band called Ravages of Time back eight,
Yeah.
9, 10 years ago. I went to over 20 of their shows. They had one of the best um, uh, conglomerates of fans. They were really close knit, tight friends, family, whatever. And they all came to every show. They're like 20 or 30 people just from Ravages of Time's family and friends. And now they are playing as Rip Off. They live in Centralia, which is my hometown.
Oh, okay.
They play in a band called Rip Off. They just had a a New Year's Eve show at the Vessel Tap House in Linwood, which is also very close, just 156 and 99, just north of me.
Okay.
I don't travel as much. It's our traffic.
Yeah.
It's getting through Seattle. It's a lot different. I mean, yeah. I leave Edmonds and I've been on the road for an hour and I'm in South Center or Tukwila, or maybe I haven't even left the Seattle city limits yet, and I've been on the road for an hour. So to answer your question, I make exceptions, sure. Um, I drove to a band called Splintered Throne that I went from Portland. They're really, really good.
Okay.
Um, I drove to Oregon and then to Reno to see them play.
Wow.
So
Okay.
I've done that before. There's some great bands in Northern California and Reno that I've become come to know a little bit and see. So I don't. But to answer your question, I'm really kind of limiting more maybe the Lucky Liquor to the south, and they're in Tukwila, which is
Hmm.
another great small place,
Yeah.
up to maybe Everett right now. But
Okay.
you know, for our people in the South Sound, Olympia, there's Baby and the Nobodies are a great band. If people haven't seen them, that they really need to see. Rebecca Terry and the guys in that band. Um, uh, that's Olympia mostly.
Okay.
Um, the Tacoma is its own hotbed
It is.
of
It
with
and
so many great bands located there.
and Everett's the same way now. I mean, if you go through any of the musicians wanted sections, um, you'll usually see looking to put a metal band together, looking to put a thrash band together in Everett, in Everett. A lot of the hard rock stuff, a lot of the metal and thrash stuff, those usually get pushed to Tacoma and Everett. And that's usually where like predominantly those bands kind of seem to come from. And so I
Mhm.
think, I think there's something in the water. I think there's something in the water down there.
I'm sure you're right. It's, Seattle seems to have their own vibe, like the show Band in Seattle. They have people that I've never heard of mostly. I'm not, but I'm a metalhead. I love my metal. It's if I hard and as fast as I can get it. So but uh, Seattle has some great venues too, like uh, actually there's so many down there that the Blue Moon, for instance,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Kraken Bar and Grill, one of my favorite places. Small, um, uh, the great stage, smaller room, but you're again, you're right there. Uh, I get to feel like I'm part of the show. I mean, I don't want to be part of the show. I just want to be a fan. But um, I've been um, very fortunate that sometimes when nobody else is up there headbanging and everybody's reticent and hanging back and stuff, and I'll just march my ass on up there and not care that I'm going to be the only one that is going to be going off.
I
And the bands just love it. They'll After I
absolutely.
get up there, they'll say, "Hey, you can come up here if you can get a little closer." And many people,
Yeah.
many people. There's a lady named Shanna Denny. I might be saying her first name, Shauna Denny.
Okay.
She's up front a lot. And there's others that they're right up there. I mean, if they're up there before me.
Yeah.
So we're just having the time. We're just, it's us and the musicians and the music. And what gets me is it's my senses are completely consumed with the audio, the sound, the lights, the musicians playing the music. It just it can envelop a person, and
Yeah.
it's like there's no room for any other senses going on, and that I don't want any.
Yeah.
It's it's got me. So that's heaven for
Yeah,
me.
yeah, I agree. I completely agree. And I was just thinking about the way you said when it totally envelops you is it also depends on it's really dependent on how committed the band is. Like I knew Eve was a great singer. I wasn't prepared for that band to be as just in it as they were. They were
Oh my gosh.
really, really tight. Um, the guitar player was really good. The bass player, fantastic. The drummer was also very, I mean, he was excellent. But the in that band's case, the sum was greater, like the whole was greater than the sum of their parts. They combined to make something better than any one of them. And the way that they had that presence and honestly, Eve crushes it. I mean, I was, yeah, this is the best I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Um, and and the finger guns, I've known Steve for I want to say 25, 30 years now.
Well,
Um, you know, he and I have been friends back. His old bass player in Dapper Jones, my buddy Arthur, is how I became acquainted with them. And Steve is, without a doubt, one of the funniest individuals on the face of the earth. He is absolute comedy gold. And every time I've seen him, it's a hug. I love the guy. I absolutely adore Steve. And every band he plays in, I know I'm going to have a great time because they are just gonna be fun.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I've known him for not as long as you have, but certainly 6 or 7 or 8 years. And I probably I ran across my should have worn more my finger guns t-shirt too. Uh, that's speaking of that, I have quite a few shirts because I want to support the bands and wear
Yeah.
their shirts and support them. And I think it was the woman who was doing sound at Tony V's. She said, "You changed your shirt." And I said, "Yeah, I did. If I've got a shirt for the band, I'm going to bring all of them, or
All
two or
right.
three."
Yeah.
And I do. I just want to, show support and love. And um, our bands are just so good, and I just want to do that for them. And every band, they say the same thing. Thanks for coming out. And for friends and family of band members, if there was some way that I could urge them to just go support their family and friends and just go out, once a month would be nice. Once every 3 months would be great too. Just anything.
Yeah.
And when I see band members greeting family and friends and coworkers, they are beside themselves. They're lit up, and their friends are having a really good time watching their coworker play or their family member. It's a not to coin an old phrase of love fest, but it is a lot of fun, and I just wish more people would give it a try. There's good food at many of these places. I highly recommend the Half Pounder at Tony V's. It's to
Okay.
die for. The Half Pounder, you got to get it. They ran out once
I,
when I was recommending it.
I am a huge fan of the cheeseburger at Slim's Last Chance.
Okay,
Uh, uh, I love that place. That is
yeah, there
probably
you go.
one of my favorite venues to go. They've got an indoor stage, and then in the summertime they have an outdoor stage as well.
Yeah.
Um, that's a fun place to play. The Tractor Tavern, since they kind of renovated and rebuilt it, has been fantastic.
Mhm.
The High Dive in Fremont, which is 2 blocks from where I work now, which is I love that place. They changed around the layout of like where the soundboard is, and the room sounds great now.
Oh, wow.
And they put a lot of care into that. Um, and that's another fun place. Um, what was your favorite band growing up, or what was the first band that you remember just being obsessed with?
Um, wow. Um, I was very fortunate to um all of the 80s hair metal. I was in the Navy for a long time, and so I was overseas a lot. And so
Okay.
when I came back in 75, before then it was your usual standard, Rolling Stones and that sort of thing. But it was probably the so I'm not going to go too far back because I just love people like the Scorpions, Judas Priest, AC/DC. I saw them 3 nights in a row once at I think it was 1982.
Okay.
The
It was the Brian
first show.
Johnson era.
Yes,
Okay.
I never saw Bon Scott.
Yeah.
But to see, but for AC/DC fans, if you can get your hands on a copy of the movie Let There Be Rock,
Yes.
you know about it.
I do. A friend of mine has it on VHS, and we
Okay.
have seen it so many times that it has this staticky bar that runs kind of through most of it now.
Well,
Um,
for people to the cinematography of that movie was ahead of its time,
yeah,
with the cameras out over the crowd, the boom cameras,
yeah,
the way they start the movie, where there's nobody talking, they just show scenes of them going in and out of the bus and doing things, and then the video of the music. They were opening for Judas Priest at a place in Paris. So, but when they were here in 1982, and I was fortunate to get to see them before then too, but in 1982, the first show was announced. I bought 4 tickets. They sold out in one day, Seattle Center Coliseum. So I thought, wow, they're here. I'm here. Why not? So I bought 2 more tickets. 3 days later, the second show sold out. I said, I know what I got to do. I'm going to go to that one too. So I bought 2 more because they were all very affordable, of course. And I took five. I went to all three and took 5 of my best family and friends to those shows with me, and that was wonderful. But I go way. I was very fortunate to. I was 10 years old in 1957 when it was virtually, 2 years into the birth of rock and roll.
yeah.
And my Aunt Annie and Uncle Leonard sent me 10 45s from their jukebox distribution store in Seattle. It was Buddy Holly, Bill Haley and the Comets, Ricky Nelson, Elvis Presley, Brenda Lee, Johnny Cash, and the Everly Brothers. And let those anyway. I was already loved music, and that really got me going. And then, um, uh, so I go back to then, and I really like Buddy Holly.
Yeah.
Um, my Uncle Leonard met Buddy Holly. That's another story. The same guy that got me those 1045s. But after getting out of the service in 75, then I was in being able to start going to shows a lot in 77. I went to as many shows at the Seattle Center Coliseum that I could get to. The Scorpions, uh, just I said the Judas Priest, all I could run off a lot of
Yeah.
household names, but
Yeah.
I got to go to. And then I got to see some punk bands too, locally here. But my first show that I remember going to was after the service. It was like in 1978. It was at the Vancouver, British Columbia Lions of the CFL. Did not have a nice stadium. They played on a ground outdoor football field, and on that field was Hart, the Little River Band, and Bob Welch. And I still have my T-shirt from that 1978
Wow.
concert, as I do most of my shirts. Well, I actually have them all from the 77 through
That's
84 realm. But um, then again, I started going back to shows in 2013 with a venue, a local.
yeah.
Sure, I've gone to not very many major big ones. I am so enamored with the sound, the intimacy of our local venues, and being able to talk to the bands and hear them with me, access
Yeah.
to the stage. So that's where
And
I'm at now.
it's also really rewarding to cheer on a band as watching them progress, watching them get bigger and bigger. Um, I grew up in Wenatchee, Washington, and I moved over here like literally right after high school. Um, and my stepbrother, who worked at American Music at the time, he called me up and he said, "Hey, what are you doing tonight?" I said, "Nothing. I'm unpacking." He's like, "Come on, we're going out." I said, "Okay." And he comes and picks me up, and we drive to the Kent roller rink
Okay.
for it was metal night on
Oh,
Tuesday,
all
and
right.
6 bands. One of the bands that played was terrible and hilarious, and it turned out to be Alice in Chains.
Oh my gosh.
It was their first show.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
Lane Staley had bleach blonde hair, teased up like Axl Rose. He had white Levi's on, no shirt with suspenders. And Tommy McMullen was from War Babies, was playing with him. Um, it was it so it wasn't necessarily their fault. They set up the stage on the side instead of it one of the ends. So the kick drum would hit the wall and bounce back, and it was throwing Sean's timing off. Actually, it might not have been Sean Kinney at the time, but they kind of train wrecked their first couple of songs because he couldn't keep the time right, and they'd kind of crash off and stop. And they'd start again, and that was one of Alice in Chains' first shows, and that was amazing.
That's wonderful that your friend had you just happened to get you to that one. That's
Yeah,
great.
yeah. And we used to see the guys from Metal Church sitting out in the parking lot and buying beer for all the kids,
Oh
and in the back of the
wow.
van, and they were huge in Europe, and but they were also completely accessible. They lived in Kent. They all lived in
Mhm.
like a 1 bedroom apartment or 2 bedroom apartment. They all shared a place. But again, when you talk about accessibility to the fans, they are a band that lives and dies on their fan base, and they
Mhm.
show nothing but love and appreciation for them. And I
Well,
I absolutely support them to the ends of the earth.
absolutely. I when I found out that they were going to be at Counts Vamped in Las
Yeah,
Vegas
yeah,
in there you go in April of 2019, I think it was. I said I'm going. I mean, I could see them up here or other places, but when I knew that they were going to be there, Dora opened for them.
oh wow, okay,
Yeah, I was right off the side of the stage when she was
yeah,
playing, and then when Metal Church was, place was packed. And then when I couldn't be in the front row, but I was in the second row
okay.
behind for them at Counts Vamped, and that was a lot of fun just to go to. I frequently go to Vegas to see bigger bands. My lovely girlfriend Inga Demeco and I flew to Las Vegas to see the Scorpions
Nice.
play at. The people told me that um, the Tacoma Dome show was really really good. And well, it was the Scorpions, but and I don't have anything particular against the Tacoma Dome, but it's 25,000 people. I think the Michelob Ultra Arena in Mandalay Bay
Oh, okay.
was only 12,000 people, and that's where we saw them, and it was a great show.
What year was that?
That was last year. Well, excuse me,
Okay.
it
Okay.
was 2022. It
Yeah.
was October. They had just played here on October 18th at Tacoma Dome, and this was October 25th, just a couple, 10 days later, whatever.
Yeah.
And that was a blast to go to that show. So, um, um, I mean, I stay in touch with what's people who are in residency in Las Vegas. A lot of older bands like Styx and Journey and all those are um, uh, play there, and with the residency thing, they can set up huge stages,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they don't play every night, of course, like Fridays and Saturdays and the occasional Wednesday, but they the money, I guess, is there, the production, and sort of the money, the cost a little bit, and they're doing really well in this day and age when the record companies aren't taking all their money,
Yeah.
I think. So,
Yeah, I agree.
but so I keep an eye on what's going on down there, and uh, so yeah, it's but I have, to answer your earlier question a little bit more, I've kind of compacted my driving, mostly because of the traffic, and the weather now gets me a little bit. I
It's
like the warmer weather.
yeah, I'm a summer guy.
Okay.
I yeah, I will see what's playing. I will see what's playing close to me before I look for specific bands and make a long trek to go see somebody.
Uh-huh.
I went to see Michael Schenker in Tacoma because my buddy Dan or my buddy Chris was opening for them. Um, my friend Dan, who was on the pilot episode, his band opened for Jake E. Lee's Red Dragon Cartel at
Okay.
at used to be the off ramp. It's what
El
is it?
Corazon.
El
Yeah.
Corazon now. Yeah. And it's amazing. They've changed the name like 3 or 4 times, and it still smells like sawdust and puke and stale beer. Um, a terrible sounding room because it's really narrow, but boy, there's something magical about that place.
Hmm.
I've seen some amazing shows there.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
It gets really packed sometimes too,
it
and
does. Yeah,
I've seen a lot of bands will end up at the Fun House because they're looking for a
yeah.
date, they're touring, they end up there. It's not bad. Uh, 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 it's good too. I mean,
Yeah.
they can take a smaller room and fill it with sound, and I'm happy
They
enough.
a lot of the like the clubs that I kind of cut my teeth on, the ones that when I first turned 21 were the clubs like Meeker's Landing down in Kent. There
Hmm.
was Pier 70. There was the
Right.
Saratoga Trunk in Bellevue. There was the Riviera in Linwood. Um, there was a couple other places where the 99 Club had live music, which became Charlie Max and turned it into a sports bar. Um, and then Chuck E. Cheese, I think, at some point. And it's hard to keep a venue open.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, my my the other thing that I want to say is, um, I'm more the last 10 years. I mean, some people have been at it a lot longer than I have, a
yeah,
lot longer.
yeah,
So, and I respect that and I applaud them for that. What I also, in talking to people, they talk about what Seattle used to be, and, Soundgarden, etc., the grunge era.
sure,
And they talk about then. Well, what I like to talk about is now. Guess what? We are all, whatever age we are, 20 to however old we are, or younger. We're we're going to these shows.
yeah.
We're seeing these bands. We're going out there to these clubs like Tony V's, and the Substation is another one in Seattle that I wanted to mention. Um, uh, the Plaid Pig in Tacoma, all that stuff on Tacoma Way there. But my point is, um, we are going to be who they're going to be looking back on 10 years from now.
I I agree.
We are the scene.
Yeah,
We're it right now. All of us who are going to shows and the bands that are playing, we're the scene. We're it. We're living it. we're living it right now, and I want to take advantage of much as many shows as I can get to of my bands, and um, that's just, I just want people to realize that live, don't talk, you don't have to talk about it, what it used to be. You're it. They're
Yeah.
going to be talking about us. They're going to be talking about Carl Hart and his let's talk about the music show, or different venues, and some newer ones, some are popping up. So that's the what I want to stress is we are the scene, and we're doing it, and we're making it be what it is. If you can get out to see a live show, if you've gone before and you're listening to this, go again. Find out, your friends in a band or a coworker, ask them when they're playing, or tell them to tell you when are you playing again. And I want to come out. I want to bring my girlfriend or my brother or whomever.
Get a group from work to go see your band play.
Exactly. It would be,
Absolutely.
what a time. You're going to have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You're going to do something that's legal now or whatever. And you're going to have a good time. And you guys, that's another thing that I like to share with people is like, when people are going out to a live music show, they are happy. They are excited from the moment they lock their door of their apartment or their house, and they're getting in that car. They know they're about to have a whole lot of fun at a live music show with people and sound and food. Um, uh, and you leave your troubles behind. You just leave them all behind because you're going to focus on what you're going to be doing, your friends, your friends in the band. And if you're not friends with in the band, make friends with them.
Friends.
Go
Absolutely.
up to them and say hi.
Yeah.
My name's Carl or Tom or Bill or Jack or Sandy or Heather or Brittany. Yeah. Go say hi to them and say, "Oh, you guys are really good." And when you're there again and you're seeing them again, and they walk up to you and say, "Hey, weren't you at our last show? Didn't we talk a little bit?"
Yeah.
Yes, we did. You were really good, and I'm here to see you again. And bands work so hard. They've learned to play their instruments.
Yep.
They've learned to become a band together. They've practiced 1 to 3 times a week, whatever. There's travel, which they have to do no matter what.
Yeah.
Load in, set up, hang out for maybe an hour before we all get there,
And
for a 40-minute set.
right.
It's
And
all about the production of the
it
show.
is. And not to, and the other part of that too is afterwards they're looking at teardown, which is another hour and a half,
Yep.
getting home at 2 or 3 in the morning. And a lot of these people work day jobs. They're getting up at 7, 8 in the morning. They're putting it all out there for you.
Yeah. And when I did a little booking and promoting myself a few years back, it was called Tom Smith's High End Productions.
Okay.
And some of the bar owners got to know me because I was supporting their venue, and I knew I was doing something right when the bar owner would come up to me instead of me coming up to him.
Yeah.
First. So that was fun. But the bands are what we're going out to see. And I did this Tom Smith's high-end productions. I wanted to get as much money as possible to the bands. They're providing the entertainment. Of course, you have to have a venue, and it has to be a going and money-making enterprise, and it has to do well too. But it's the bands are the product, and that's who I want to see. If I ever did that again, it's going to be Tom Smith's Base of the Stage Productions. That's what I want to call it. That's where life begins, at the base of the stage. And I love seeing people up close, and I really enjoy seeing so many people up close that I can't even get there. And then I just sit and find a chair and sit back and relax and know that the musicians are being enjoyed.
I find myself yeah, I'm not pushed up to the front often. Sometimes I am, but for like the Daryl's show, I was content to be back by the pool table so that I could see how the crowd was getting on and how
Right.
everybody was responding. And all the bands, they had a great response. They got
Yes.
they got great feedback. There was, the crowd was fun. They were lively, they were loud, they were they were really into it.
Yeah.
That speaks volumes to the type of band they are. And a lot of those, like I saw, you weren't the only one with the Trip the Wire shirt. There were I saw a couple other people, and everybody was really into it. I love to see that.
Another great band out there is Virginia Street Revival. If you
I've
get a
heard of them.
chance,
I haven't seen them.
oh my God, they are five guys. Jim Clark, which is Eve
Eve's
Scott
husband.
Clark's husband.
Yeah.
Um, his band, Josh Musseteer. I know I'm going to not remember everybody's name, but uh, they they're really really good. They're more power, more wall of sound. Virginia Street Revival.
Okay.
I if you see them, the energy, um, the sound, Jim on vocals, um, uh, they're really really good. I probably have 30 to 50 favorite bands. I mean, I've amassed I've seen numerous people go through, be in different bands. They might be in
Yeah.
their third or fourth band by now, but there's a band called Shutter Speed. I first time I saw them, when I recognized the bass player, the drummer, and the guitarist, and were all people I knew from other bands, like two or three other bands.
Yeah.
They're really good. There's so many bands I could talk about that are just lighting up our scene, and for me, my growth in that was I found a band, and then I would go to see them. Then I would see the other bands that were playing, and that's another thing about our performing bands. Most of our bands that are going to be up there at a venue, um, on a bill, are good. I don't see, you know, too many sleepers that are in developmental. Maybe there was one young band that I saw that, and I thought to myself, wow, these guys might be the future because they had a huge contingent of young high school or maybe middle school fans there, and that could be the next generation. And so I was happy for them.
That's
So
that's fantastic. And my cousin Jason, who was on the pilot episode, and I just finished recording an episode with him and his 12-year-old son Liam, who is a fantastic guitar player. He got to get up and jam with Exodus.
oh my gosh.
He got to play Eruption at the Ballard Seafood Fest. He got
Oh
up with the
wow.
band Nightwave and played Eruption, and he played Enter Sandman. He's in the School of Rock in Issaquah, I believe, and he's 12 years old, but he's in the senior level band.
Okay.
Um,
No,
just fantastic. I've given him several guitars through the years now, um, and I could not be more proud. Uh,
that's
I absolutely
that's
love the kid, and he's a metalhead.
okay.
If you want to ask him, he'll be, he'll talk your ear off about Pantera, Gojira, Metallica, Megadeth, all of speed metal bands, thrash bands. He is all in.
That
Um,
is that is so awesome to see,
yeah,
that level metal is going to live on beyond me. And it, to have it's timeless. It's um, you know, um, keep me posted. I'll come and see him play. I'll go
I
with you.
yeah. In fact, he's going to be uh, the band isn't going to announce it, but they've offered to let him get up and jam on a full song when Exodus comes back.
Wow.
Um,
That's
and
that is
So
What a thrill that would be for
right,
him.
a 12-year old kid that gets up and jams with one of the one of the monsters of thrash, one of the big four.
Mhm.
That is that's
That would be great.
yeah, that's pretty amazing.
A really, really good friend of mine, Matt Ellers, teaches drums at the School of Rock in Bellevue, I think it is.
Okay.
He works with Matt Payne, is also works there, of Lark versus Owl, the stand-up guy on the drums.
Okay.
If you ever get a chance to see Lark versus Owl, I highly, you'll be okay. All right, Tom. All right, I get
No,
it.
no,
I
no.
get it. They're
I'm
really good.
always looking for more bands that I can be fans of, and I, yeah, I'm a huge music nerd.
And again, I'm constantly discovering new bands. Another huge band that has tremendous power and sound is Atrocity Girl. My friend Matt told me about Atrocity Girl.
Okay.
um, I saw Kitty Junk, and then I saw Atrocity Girl, and Atrocity Girl kind of reminded me of somebody like, um, they were larger, they were huge in terms of their sound and their presence. I mean, it's easy to say that, but I mean, they kind of took it to another level. I just highly encourage people. You would see the, more strength and massiveness of their sound. They're really impressive. I highly recommend Atrocity Girl to any of your listeners, and if you see them on a bill, and they're worth going out to see on their own. But certainly we have, my friend Ryan Siebert, who is in, uh, a new band called Corliss, and they just put out their After Corliss Avenue, which is a local
Oh,
street in
okay. Yeah,
Seattle. Yeah,
I know Corliss.
they've just put out an album. Ryan Siebert, Jamie Brim is in that band. They were in Black Sun Moon, and also, another band who's escaping me right now, but um, they're really good, five piece. Uh, the new bands are coming out all the time, and so, especially seeing people that are friends that I've known before,
Yeah,
in other bands, it's just, um, it's a blast.
yeah,
All I gotta say.
I love that. This has been awesome. Thank you so much for agreeing to join me. Um, I've loved talking to you, and I'm looking forward to running into you at the next show.
I would like that very much. Yes. Yeah, we'll definitely, we need to catch some, and I would love to support your 12-year-old friend in his endeavors. And that's what people need.
Yeah,
People
great.
need fans who need support. People to get out there, and it's a two-way street. I
Yeah,
get as much from the bands who are, thanks for coming out, Tom, as I get from the music and their friendship. It's like, I have two families. I have my own related family, and then I have the music family. And I gotta give a shout out to those all your fans, all you people that go to a lot of shows. Um, uh, Rick Raff and um, Tina, they have a group called Something Metal.
okay.
They're out all the time, and I know I'm leaving lots of people out, but to name a few. But um, there's a lot of diehards out there. There's a lot of people that are having a blast, just having the time of our lives, just doing this and going
Yeah.
out.
I So when I post this episode up, the comments section will be up. It'll be completely open. So feel free to post links to some of the bands that we talked about.
Sure.
Feel free to post links to any of the bands that you want people to know about. Um,
Okay.
my whole idea for doing this was to get people to talk about music and just appreciate new bands that they maybe haven't heard of. Um, be turned on to either a style of music that you might not be familiar with, or just there's this level of passion to music fans, to the people that just music kind of consumes them, like you mentioned. Um, and there's a lot to offer people that may be casual fans. There is maybe people are looking for new bands to check out, new local bands to go see. Um, I I want to. People don't need to hear me talk. I want to have interesting people on that can talk about new music that I'm excited to learn about. Um, you know, Atrocity Girl and Virginia Street Revival. I mean, yeah.
They will just blow you away. You'll see what I mean when you hear them. Yeah, there's people coming up all the time, and but it's going out to see the band that you know and love,
Yeah.
that you're attracted. And there's like, maybe another band that you might know. Like I was just telling Ryan Siebert about a February 11th show at Daryl's Tavern. It's going to be Filthy Traders with Chelsea Weaver. It's going to be Shame Banger, who I have not heard much of.
I love the
Uh,
name.
Yep, Shame, Shame Banger, and Filthy Traders, and another band that's escaping me right now. But Ryan of Corliss and Black Sun Moon has already said, "Oh, I'm going to be there, Tom. I'll be there." So uh, Chelsea Weaver, she's of Filthy Traders. What a tremendous stage presence she is. She does a great job. She, you know, looks frail, but damn, does she bang it out on stage, vocals and on guitar. So, um, but and I have a shirt, of course. Uh,
Gotta have the. I'm rocking the Hendrix shirt tonight.
okay, nice, nice.
Uh, for the first episode, for the promo, I had, I think, my Stereo Embers shirt, which is Rob Benson, Guan Chang, um, and Tim DiGiulio playing guitar, who is a monster player. He is, without a doubt, one of my favorite guitar players in Seattle. The guy is phenomenal. He plays in Flight to Mars with Mike McCready, and
Oh wow,
every
right.
time Tim steps out to take a solo, I can look at Mike and just Mike is just like, yeah, that guy. And Mike is incredibly gracious. He's um, he is an absolute treasure for the Seattle community.
It is some of our Seattle people like that, like Duff McKagan, for
Yeah,
instance. I saw him at Slim's.
yeah, I was at that show. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, I was at that show, the one where they had the auction. Um,
uh, he was in. They were inside in the small room, and I remember Eve Scott Clark was just having the time of her life. She was right up front. The place was packed, of course, and that was. But to, like you say, some of our huge band members of another era, they are just wonderful supporters of the Seattle music scene and music in general, of course.
yeah,
But yeah, to see that what the part they play and doing things here and there is wonderful.
yeah, absolutely agree. This has been fantastic. Thank you so much. Um, and yeah, I will look for you at the next show.
Okay.
First beer's on me.
Oh, well, thank you, Carl. I appreciate that.
You
All
bet.
right.
All right. Take care.
Okay, you too. Have a good night.
You too.
Thanks.